Yeah.
It was in the mail check.
I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Board of Finance to order at 8:07. Next item on the agenda is additions to the agenda. Do we have any additions? Okay. Citizens' comments.
I'm sorry, I don't need to. Do you want to add the resignation to the agenda?
I was going to cover that under correspondence.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from, I jumped to three there, January 9th regular meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Citizens' comments? Correspondence. As you all know, we received a resignation from Roberta Lepore from our board. It was effective January 27th. So we have posted it. We have 2 applications received so far. I will reach out to those people and invite them to our next meeting.
In regards to Roberta's resignation letter, we didn't receive any correspondence as board members. And usually we, like in the past, we've received it. Why?
Hey, Johnny, can you send that out?
What happened?
It's just a one line, I'll send it out though.
Yeah, I mean, I think my concern was maybe it's the procedure. I mean, in our bylaws it says when there's a resignation letter, it should promptly be sent to the board members. My concern. It's the town clerk sends it. Yep, I see it.
No, it's supposed to go to the town clerk.
Yeah.
From an elected, then you elect the board, it's supposed to go to the town clerk.
Yeah, I think what my big concern here is that I found out on social media. Actually, my mom messaged me while I was at school. Says, "Who resigned?" And it was a shock. And I think the proper decorum would have been for us to get it.
Well, I sent it out an email that morning. I didn't realize it had already gone on the. I guess it already went on the website that there was the vacancy.
So she officially resigned the 27th, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were waiting
But we could not. Yeah.
for a formal letter.
Yeah, we got the formal letter on Monday. And so you need a signed letter. But that, I had already sent an email to the board saying Roberta resigned, but it was already.
It was already posted on Facebook.
Well, it wasn't posted. It was on the website. Somebody saw it probably on the website.
No, the first selectman posted it on Facebook, and that's where I saw it.
Excuse me?
The first selectman's page said that there was an opening. Was there?
Oh, yeah, it
on
didn't say
Facebook.
someone resigned, they probably said
They
there
said that
was an opening.
there's an opening on the Board of Finance.
Right.
Well, that means that somebody resigned, right? I mean, that's.
Yeah, if you want to go that way, but we were notified by Rob that there was a resignation, so we opened it back up for applications.
Yeah. I'm just my concern is that.
No, it was my fault. My brother, as I explained to you, my brother was in the hospital.
Yeah.
Okay, and near death. And I'm trying to handle better finance matters while I'm sitting in this hospital room.
Yeah.
And so I apologize for getting it out late. Roberta sent, Sunday night, I got an email from Roberta that I forwarded to Gail. It went on the website the next morning that there was an opening. Then Gail said, well, you can't really accept that because it's not signed. Roberta was traveling. She didn't have a scanner or printer available when she got home this past weekend.
Yeah.
She signed it, scanned it in, sent it to me. I sent it over to Gail. Gail got it on Monday morning.
All right.
You guys were notified the previous week, but it was after it got posted on the on the thing.
All right.
My fault.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, so my fault. Department reports, tax collector. Do you have anything? I know this isn't your normal meeting to report.
No, but I'll give you a brief report. So the collection rate, we're trending right now slightly higher than we were last year at this time. Okay, just to keep that in mind. The first selectman did have that special referendum, and we did pass the deferral program for anybody who was not receiving any pay. There was 5
government
workers. There was 5 people that we did try to contact to take it, and they did not. So at this point, we didn't have anybody do that offer. However, it still stands that if the government does shut down, the program works until March 2nd. So if there's anybody in need, have them please come see us, okay?
So, just a quick question, there's only 5 individuals
That we could verify that they
Okay.
were of this process.
Okay,
That they would have qualified for it.
Oh, I
One
see.
person actually said, no, I'm just gonna pay my taxes.
okay.
And the other ones just didn't.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so if anybody knows anybody that qualifies, have them please come see us so we can get the ball rolling for them.
Thank you.
That's about it at this time.
Okay. Maggie, finance?
You have, because of the change in the January meeting dates, I did provide you with reports that normally would have been at the second meeting of January, and that's the month of December reports. As Michelle mentioned, the tax collection rate for the current grand list is running slightly ahead of where it was at this point, because I think now the impact of the delay in sending out motor vehicle bills last year, the impact of people rushing to pay their property taxes in December of 17, which skewed all of last year's numbers, we're now at a point where all of that kind of played out. And I think probably a lot of people who paid in December last year probably are sticking with that same pattern of paying in December going forward, so that they pay 2 installments in a year. So I think we're back to a point where we now have numbers that the comparisons are realistic and make some sort of sense, as opposed to they're just totally skewed by events of last year. So not really much to comment on that's new from prior months. If anybody has any questions?
Any questions on December? Health insurance program fund, whichever.
Yeah, so you had asked me to bring on the health insurance fund, the report that goes through the December 31st quarter. So the document that I sent out is similar to ones that have been sent out before, with the Board of Ed section on the top, the town section in the middle, and the combined numbers on the bottom. The numbers at this point in time are not a whole lot off of where we were a year ago. I meant this afternoon, for my own sake, to print last year's December report before coming here tonight, and I forgot. So, but I do know that end of November numbers, when I was reporting specifically to the Board of Ed, were very, very similar. But also, the first half of the year doesn't show the same level of impact as the first half of the year in past years, because of the change as more people go to the high deductible plan, because it's coming out of the employee's pocket in the beginning, and so you don't really start seeing what gets paid out of the self-insurance fund until after those deductibles and out-of-pockets have been met. And there's quite a few more people, in particular on the Board of Ed side, that are now in the high deductible compared to the prior year. So again, it's still kind of hard to do comparisons right now, because we don't have similar events driving the numbers. So town side we do, Board of Ed we don't, and obviously there's a lot more people on the Board of Ed side, so.
Any concern that or is this typical at this point in the year, that the reserves are down a couple hundred, about 10%?
It's typical to some extent, because we front load some of the things like the HSA contributions, we're paying directly out of here the various, the independent stop loss provider, our benefits consultant, those folks. But I think part of it is the front loading of the HSA, employer HSA contributions, especially in that's not as noticeable anymore on the town side, because we moved from the front loading to the quarterly installments because we've been in the program longer. The Board of Ed, it's very noticeable, because this is, again, the first year of really having a significant number of people, and with the front-loaded HSAs, so.
As you're looking at the Board of Ed budget, you're kind of looking back 12 months at this point. How is that looking?
The claims trending that we're dealing with right now, based on the information we have, is that we're trending slightly higher in this current year than the budget projections anticipated, not huge amounts higher. And then of course, because it's so difficult to project health insurance claims and costs being what they are, going forward, they're being very, very conservative on projecting increases in the claims trend going into next year. So we may have done everything we can to stabilize things from the funding methodology perspective, but it's the claims trend that's driving numbers right now. It's not the funding methodology. And always the first projections they do are always more conservative than the ones that get closer to when the actual renewal numbers come out.
I sent you an email. Do we have the current funding policy written down anywhere? I know we don't have an official policy, but do we have a formula written down, I guess, anywhere?
I know it's written down in probably notes I have, but a formal write-up that we could publish along with all the other stuff we have, like in the back of the budget.
Yeah, and that the board members could.
Yeah, I don't know that we ever did that.
I've read it, it's somewhere.
It's somewhere.
I mean, I know,
I'll go back in the notes or
Agenda.
I mean, I know exactly how I'm applying
Right.
it. So, and I'm applying it for what the work I'm doing on next year's budget the same way I did for this year's budget. I think the one thing that we kind of have to incorporate into what we all wrote is the needing to phase in the impact.
And that's just the Board of Ed we
We did
did.
it on the town side because of the way the numbers played out. Coming into this year, we didn't have to do that. And the necessity of doing it on the town side is because it's such a small
Yes, it's not
group.
critical.
That's the problem. The board numbers, I think you're talking 3 times as many, 4 times as many, maybe even 5 times as many people on the board. I think it's 5 times as many people. So it's like one thing changes on the town side and it can really skew the numbers. So it's much more difficult to work with on that. So,
Okay.
but I have it laid out as to how it's applied in the form of a spreadsheet. Is it actually clearly written, really nice and neat somewhere?
What was the percentage number we agreed on in terms of 50% over that? Was it 120 or did we go to 125?
We did not do 125.
Okay.
That I know.
It may have been we may have gone down to 115.
I'm thinking it's 15,
I think so too.
but I haven't looked at it in like.
Okay, because I just want to get the formula out to the board members.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
basically,
will.
it's something like,
I think we did 15%.
yeah, they
of
can,
the rest.
basically we can use 50% of the reserve over and above 115. That kind of the gist of it.
No, it's you take 1/3 of the difference between the reserve and the 115%, I think is what it is, but
So just 1/3.
don't hold me to
Okay.
that because
All right, so basically between
it's a 33% thing.
so we
It's
can
not-
use 1/3 of the reserve that's over 115
Yes, and we were doing it without the IBNR.
without IBNR.
I calculate it both ways so that we
Right.
know.
And
what
we're
the-
actually full into that on the
The board
Board
side, yes.
of Ed side, but we're gradually
Yeah,
over
we,
10.
if I remember through the iterations of the budget, we phased it in and then we spread it
Spread
even
it
more. I
out
think
to
we
10.
tried 5 years and then we had to spread it to 10.
All right.
So I factored that in when I was doing calculations from the numbers that came from Lockton. But again, the numbers are changing not because of the funding methodology.
Yeah, it's not the
Claims,
methodology,
the
it's just claims. Okay. Any questions on the health insurance fund, funding? Program fund?
So
What's
the
the other
program fund, I'm not gonna, which, okay, what did I do with my fund? The program fund, you should have multi-years.
Yeah, we have 2 rolling, which now are full calendar
Yeah, I
years.
think it's a front and back.
That's top and bottom, I think.
No, I think
Two
the
pages.
back
There is
is
2
2 pages, so I
yeah.
think there's at least 4 years in that.
Yeah, there are. There's 16,
Yeah.
you have 15, 16, so we have 4
I
years.
just keep putting the newest year on top. some point I won't be able to print the whole thing and have you be able to read anything, because as it is, everything's getting pretty small, and I have no idea what I did with my copy of it. So, that's a sign of what my desk looks like in my office. But it's, I mean, it's not the high numbers it was, but it's still it's in good shape.
Yeah, because last
And
year,
the feeling was it was too high. So I think we're trying to find what is that happy medium of where we want it to be. So-
well, actually, I mean, it is a little, I mean, we started the year at 185.
And that's,
And we're at
remember,
212?
that's the calendar year version.
Yeah,
so
okay,
The
so you're-
calendar year version isn't the best one to really judge. It's the fiscal year with the year-end accruals that's really the best one
So
to
230.
judge, because the timing differences are all removed from the equation when you do that.
So we're at 238 this year. At the end of June, we were at 217, so we're up about 20,000. There, so I mean, it's,
And that can be skewed just by what's the last day of school, because the last day of school impacts the beginning of summer camp.
yeah.
So the longer school goes into June, you might get the revenues for summer camp, but you don't really start incurring the expenses till the next fiscal year. School gets out when it's supposed to, it shifts the expenditures back into June. So snow can impact.
Has the funding policy been approved on this, or?
I don't think
Not yet.
so.
I know they were working on it, and then it kind
We've
of,
worked on it, we tweaked it again.
It gets bumped by other things, comes back to the surface, we figure out where we left off.
okay.
So it's getting there.
Anybody have any questions on this report? Anything else, Maggie?
I don't think so.
I think those are all the,
I think that was all of what you
all
wanted
your
me to bring.
reports, yeah.
I
December,
didn't even do that.
health insurance, okay. You gonna cover the assessor memo in your report? The grand list report, you were covering that in your?
No, I gave it to you.
Okay, I'll cover it as well on finance. John Chaponis released the grand list last week. Basically, based on the current grand list, he says that based on our, where we are currently, that's an extra 330,000 of revenue. So basically, the revenue, if the mill rate stayed the same, the revenue would be $330,000 more with the revenues. Because you got more taxpayers.
0.8%.
Yeah, almost 1% higher. And so basically, with the current mill rate, that would generate an extra $330,000 in tax dollars.
And most of that's in motor vehicles, I think you said.
Any questions on that?
Again, I did notice a decent increase in the personal property as well. Again, he does.
And that's really, that's business, business property.
But
Yeah,
again,
most of that's like Alpha Q and the new construction and the new equipment that they put in there.
but John does, from what I've heard, he is very good at, maintaining as much as we possibly can as far as, and making sure the fact that we get our fair share of as far as the grant.
This year, he went after the vehicles that were registered out of state. And he put a program together, and you'd be surprised how many vehicles that are in town with people that live in town that are registered out.
I wouldn't be, I'd be behind one every day. Every day.
And he went after them this year.
I think it was.
Hard work.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is for selectmen's report. No transfers, so we'll move right to the first selectmen's report.
Yeah, I have, well, two things. One, we're gonna obviously transfer change the date on the joint meeting to the 20th so that Rob can be there. That's not a problem. We'll just advertise it that way.
6:30 or 6 o'clock, which time you want?
6:30.
6:30?
Should do it already.
Yeah. So that we can get that moving. I have a Two things, one for you, this budget calendar schedule. If you go down to May 14th, it's not a Thursday, it's a Tuesday, that's a typo.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, the Board of Education has that meeting, so I don't know what you're gonna do with that.
Okay, and I also heard from Dot that the Board of Ed scheduled graduation on the day of our referendum.
Point of clarification, you scheduled the referendum. But you were counting on a snow day, so you better do a dance out there.
Also the superintendent and Brad proved it. So maybe they forgot that the graduation was on that day. So basically that's assuming no snow days.
Yeah, okay.
And the
So far
groundhog
so
said early
good.
spring.
Something happened.
The groundhog says early spring, so you may be in the clear.
I have one thing that has bothered me, and I'm gonna get with Linda Orange on this, is Sergeant Martinez is retiring. Has got probably 5 or 6 more actually physical working days, and the rest is sick days and whatever he's got, vacation days and.
Personal days.
That we pay for.
Yeah, he's already bought a house in Florida, he's gone. We just got from the state police, 2 or 3 days ago, a bill for overtime. That was
Higher than the first quarter.
Yeah, first quarter was 17,000, the last quarter was, this quarter that we just got was 19,000 of overtime for him. We budgeted 15,000, so it's probably about $20,000 over. Unfortunately, we don't know that until after the fact, because we don't receive the bill until the end of the quarter. I discussed it with him, I showed him the thing. He confirmed that those are accurate dates that he worked. I informed him that he can't work anymore overtime. But,
It's hard to do from Florida. It's hard to do from Florida.
yeah, well, he's only got 2 days. He only has 2 days in January that he said he worked overtime, so he's basically done, but the damage is already done. We have no control.
How does he end up working overtime? I mean,
He just doesn't. We have no control. He's responsible for.
If he does something for us on what is his day off from his shift schedule that the state police controls, then it's overtime.
Right.
and what's something for us?
If he has to come in to do, it could be patrol, it could be administrative work, it could be the DUI, it's police business, but if it falls on what is his normal scheduled day off, then it's billed as overtime as opposed to being billed as the regular pay.
He's a 5 out, 3 off schedule, just like our regular
But we
police.
don't control the schedule.
And these are things that have to be done on his off day, can't be done the day before when
I
he's
can't
working.
answer that question. I don't run
I
this
wouldn't answer
department.
that question either.
Who's his
Who
boss?
monitors them, yeah? Who's his boss?
The state police, he's not an employee of ours. This is what you
Oh, that's
have
a
when you have a hybrid situation, that when you have a resident trooper program, the resident trooper is an employee of the state of Connecticut who reports to the lieutenant at the barracks. They are in control of assigning the trooper. If sometimes his overtime is not necessarily our resident trooper, it's whoever might have to cover, because let's say he's out sick and some other trooper, so that we have someone has to cover, then it could be that. So it's the largest amount of overtime we've experienced in that particular line. That's why we budgeted, I think we budgeted more like 19,000, but that budget that we did was based on historical data.
Does their overtime still count towards their pension?
I have
Yes.
no idea. I believe so,
Last 2 years. So we have no control over the days he works, so if he decides he wants to work 6 days this week instead of 5?
I don't have that level of operational data, but it's.
I believe
but
that to be true.
Now, all this accrued time, are we paying for that too?
It's probably, we probably have been, because it's the overhead rate that they.
Yeah, but are we, now we,
No, we won't pay.
I mean, he's not here
No,
anymore.
no, we
He's
won't-
getting paid by
No,
somebody.
there will not be some future payment, but what I'm saying is that the way they bill for the troopers
We pay for it
includes a huge overhead rate that covers
Yeah,
all the benefits, the
yeah,
car, the this, the that, and the other thing, to the point where the fringe benefit part of the bill has become bigger than the salary part of the bill. It's unbelievable how big the number is.
Well,
But if we're paying, we should have
113%
something
of
for
his
it.
salary is benefits.
Yeah.
But if we're
And that-
paying for it, we should.
again,
Yeah.
There's,
But that-
it's the way the program works,
So
and
basically,
there's a
in-
contract, and
when you look at his-
they're in charge.
Any of his retirement benefits, that is all covered under that basically is VFO.
Everything, health
Yeah.
insurance benefits,
Well,
life insurance, car,
So-
uniform.
Yeah, well, that we can't control because it is what it
No,
is,
you
but
can't
it seems that we should be able to control overtime.
And you'd have to go back to however the.
Yeah, I look at you, but I know you,
Yeah,
don't-
you know.
you just pay the bill, it comes in.
Don't run that department.
So,
I can read
Okay.
it down to it.
so basically that money is gonna have to come out of the overtime in the police.
Which he's
budget.
controlling, which he's limiting the overtime. Well, now he isn't, but he was.
For the
But we were-
regular officers.
So we were paying him overtime to monitor the overtime.
We don't,
Well,
know.
that's a
I mean-
I
way
don't
of
know
saying
that
it.
to be factually accurate.
No, well, but I'm just saying, you know, he comes in
That's pure
on,
speculation.
I realize that.
All right. It's-
Well, some people
All
are
right, we
taking
need to
seriously.
look into that.
Yeah.
Future, we need to look into that to see if we have control.
The key to do this, to get away from that is hopefully the next resident state trooper is not
Anywhere
ready to
near
retire
retirement.
for 4 or 5 years.
Or they'll
and we
return
won't
to
have
the
that
barracks in
situation.
the last couple of years, which is what's happened before. We've had troopers before who've chosen to go back to being a regular trooper because they can earn even more overtime than you could as a
Yeah.
resident trooper.
Yeah.
So normally they go back to the barracks in the last
2 years.
year or so and
Okay.
and earn it
And I'm sure that-
there. But it's not a matter of us trying to revise a contract. This is the way the program works in the entire state of Connecticut. You're not gonna get that.
No, I'm not questioning
No, I
contract.
wasn't,
Yeah,
I
I'm just
wasn't
questioning,
talking
you
to
know,
you about
who
that.
controls his,
It's the way the program runs. If
He
you
controls
want to
his
be
own
part of the
schedule.
resident trooper
Actually, he
program.
basically controls his own, which is not,
and you're gonna talk to Linda about this.
yes, to look at the whole resident training, whole program. Because I don't think it's fair to the town to pick up what their union says they can do.
Okay. Anything else?
No,
Under old business, I had paramedic program update. I'm not sure we need to discuss that any further tonight.
Is the 20th that joint meeting that you guys talked about before?
Yes, that'll be the 20th at 6:30. Open Gov update. I don't know how many people have sent back the things and gotten a chance to work on it. We were hoping to get that out before the weekend, so they had a chance to work on that. Right now, Maggie, just the town reports around that we have access to right now. The Board of Ed isn't there yet, or it
No,
is?
the board is there, but the superintendent and the Board of Ed chairman have those,
Okay.
so.
So we have access to the town ones
Right, you
right
have the
now.
revenues and the expenditure, there's a monthly and an actual for both. The Board of Ed chairman and the superintendent of schools have the education expenditures monthly and annual, so.
Now, I think for figuring out how it works, you're not missing anything right now in terms of functionality that the Board of Ed side and the town side, the graphs will be the same. The methodology of drilling down the expenses will be
And
the same.
there is a calculation flaw in their program. I don't know if you picked up on it, Rob, but in where, if you're looking down at the chart, which then will affect the graph, the presentation that's out there now has both the approved budget and the revised budget in that order, left to right. The one that's to the right, if I change the order, it flip-flops which one has the calculation error. The variance column, budget to actual, is budget to actual in every line except the total line of the one budget that's on the right. On that total line, it's the difference between the adopted budget and the revised budget. I had to explain twice to OpenGov what I was trying to tell them. They're like, oh, that's not supposed to do that. They put in a work ticket, and their temporary solution was, well, maybe you should just present one of the budgets for now. I don't think that's an appropriate solution, so I don't know how long it will take them to fix that. It is a flaw in their program.
Yeah, I mean,
I just want you to know that, so don't all email me or call me to tell me that variance number's wrong. I know it's wrong.
yeah, there was another thing that I picked up about a week ago. They were, for some reason, on the year-to-date, everything was doubling. It wasn't
That was
taken.
probably one of the old reports.
Yeah, it wasn't. Not the current. It was last week.
Those are all.
Yeah, and they sent me a revised one after they made the
Well,
correction.
but those initial reports are all no good.
Now, the one thing I noticed isn't there is the budget trend report. Did you look at that one?
I didn't even know where that report
It wasn't-
came from.
it was
It
one of-
wasn't one of the ones I was working on, so I
No, but it
saw it,
wasn't-
I didn't know where it came from,
Yeah.
so no, I didn't do anything.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I mentioned that too, because it's a great report, so take a look at it, because what it does, it shows the actual budget trend.
'Cause, I mean, I glanced at it real quick, and all I saw was 3 bars that all looked the same size. So I wasn't quite sure
Well, that
what
would be
you
correct.
wanted the report to be.
That would be correct.
And it was 3 or 4 different budget years, so I don't know what it was you asked them to do.
Initially what happened was they had on one graph, they had the adopted budget, the revised budget, and the actual. And they had it, and there was all these bars, and the adopted and the revised were the same color code. So you couldn't, without moving your cursor, you couldn't tell the difference, and there was just too many. So when I went into another town, I saw this budget trend that gave us the trend of the adopted, revised, without the actual. It was just a trend of the budgets on there. So without seeing it gave an idea. Okay, this is the adopted budgets we approved. This has been the change.
Yeah, I was focused on the reports that I was working with them on. So that one, I was like, where did this one come from? I didn't know if they changed the name of one of the old ones. I didn't know if it was something.
So at this point, everything's validated. We're just waiting for us to say it looks good, and you're waiting for Board of Ed.
The format you were looking for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, we have both the revised and the adopted budgets.
Okay, and I know as of yesterday, you went on, and Brad went on.
You know we went on?
They told me. Because I wanted to know who
I
got
can
it.
see when the last.
She can see it. I can't see it. She can see it.
I just get a last login, such and such date. I can see that. Other people have the.
I saw the part where it says how many users, or they don't call it, what is it called? How many people are going in.
Yeah.
But it's in general.
I was talking to Meredith yesterday, and I said, have people been on yet? And she said, Rosemary was on, Brad was on, and Denise was on. So I knew, and you were on, so I
I was
knew.
playing with those pretty bar graphs.
Yeah. So hopefully it'll be out, as soon as we get back, and we can release if we get back before the Board of Ed, we can put the town ones out right away without putting the Board of Ed ones on, and then when they approve them, they'll go on.
When they do their thing, they can go. Yep.
Okay, because I don't know if you guys need a meeting to approve them or not, so,
Brad seems to think you do.
yeah, which is next Tuesday.
We haven't talked about it, so yes, I would think so.
Okay, and I guess until you get the signed thing back, you don't get an invite. Is that the process?
Yep.
Yeah, as soon as they give me.
Well, I know you have a
the
couple, I
name.
know there's a couple tonight for you.
I figured that's what was gonna happen, that some people are just gonna bring them back, other people scanned them and emailed them, and so.
Okay, budget discussion, the original survey comments that I put on, I had to take an Excel spreadsheet and save it as a PDF, and initially it was only saving 23 pages of 60. So I started cutting and pasting, trying to create it, and then I realized I could go into a dialog box and check off, even though I only had there was only one sheet open, I had to check off entire workbook. Now I know Deanna had some questions in terms of does this say there was 166 comments and there's only 126? There was a couple redactions, but not many, where basically names were on there. But the most part, and I told Tricia, I set the whole data sheet to Tricia, so anybody can go into town hall and view the data sheet. If you want it printed, it's 576 pages. So I'm not sure, because the problem with the spreadsheet is that the cells are, the way it comes down from SurveyMonkey, it's just, but you can see what I did. When people say, oh, do you have any additional comments? Well, it's like 25 people just said, no, or nothing at this time. So I eliminated those from the composite, but you can go in and just verify, count and it's not an easy count because what happens is every response is a cross. So some people didn't comment. So what you see is 486 rows, but you see like 200 rows this way, and some of them you have to click on to get them wider on there. But in terms of you can quickly run down the no's, or you don't have to enlarge a column to see that somebody said no in the columns. But I didn't want 182 pages with all those extra things in there. But the information is at town hall that people can check the actual run that comes off of SurveyMonkey. Anybody have any questions? I know we got to change the typo on that one, and the other issue is would you say there's a meeting night that Board of Ed has a meeting?
May 14th is the actual regular meeting date of the Board of Ed for their May meeting. I picked up on that when I went to enter these dates onto my calendar, and there was already...
And what do we have on May 14th?
The public hearing on the budget that sends it on to town meeting, so it's kind of important. The Board of Ed can't really be in both
Well,
places.
we're going to change the referendum for Board of Ed's graduation. Maybe they can change their meeting for...
That's a discussion between you and them, not me.
Maybe we can trade dates there. All right, we'll check that out, and we'll get that settled.
Just a quick question. Are we going to discuss the budget survey or findings?
You can.
we have a little discussion maybe about it?
Yep.
So, I mean, there was definitely a decrease in the amount of people from year to year, and I don't know why that happened. Maybe they're really confident in what we're doing, or maybe they feel there's lip service.
Well, let me just pause with that point. In the 6 years that we've been doing it, this was the third highest. Last year was a big jump. And maybe the jump was because the previous year's budget ran so long that basically we were still talking budget in November in terms of the state. And maybe people also, because of what happened, and because we were talking about the remediation plan right through there, so maybe people were more engaged.
How many people answered the...
492. Okay, where's the total? The previous year was 617. We had 1 year, several years, the first year of the budget was very high. And it was new. And then we had 2 years where it was in 396 and 420, and then this year was 492. So yeah, it was down from last year, but in terms of if you were looking at the long term, so yeah.
Yeah, I've been here for 3 years.
Yeah, so what happened last year? What happened last year for it to jump up? And why did it go back down to where it was, almost down to where it was for the previous 2 years before that?
I mean, the previous budget season was very quiet too, so it's interesting though. I think it's always a good start for a conversation. It was interesting, 55% said a decrease in the budget to 1% increase. That's a little more than half. And I think that's coming right before we keep getting all these news items and about the hits coming from Hartford. So just to keep it in mind. Something, I gotta share this. In the comment section, I heard that my name was redacted because it said that they want me to run
I redacted, so look at me.
Yeah. If it was a bad comment,
and I was the one that told you.
I know. But it said that they want me to run for first selectman. I would just want you to know, Art, that I won't primary you. Okay, I just want you to know. I wouldn't want you to lose in front of everybody, so I just get that on the record.
Yeah, somebody did say Bisco's for first selectman.
Yeah,
and but he didn't spell his name right, so I knew it wasn't his mother.
Yeah.
Maybe they did it deliberately.
That could be.
But on a more serious note, though, I did get some correspondence, and this was kind of a shocker. I got this from James McNair, and apparently he got the information on the budget ahead of time. You said that there was an FOI
No.
about that?
Well, he sent it up, every year James, he drills down. He asks me, can I have the data sheet? Okay, so when I sent the data over to the town, I sent him a copy, which was a mistake. I didn't think it was a big deal, because, we make such a big deal out of this survey, like it's, half the people say it's unscientific, so why are you even doing it? And so I didn't see any harm in doing it. Some people were upset. From a protocol perspective, Art and I talked about it. I broke protocol with doing that. And
I just want to share, this is, I guess, correspondence here. I just want to be transparent about what he sent me. I was in shock, kind of. I thought we discussed the budget beforehand, before anybody else would be analyzing the data. And
well,
in the future though, like if somebody asks for the information, are we just going to be giving it off to them, or are we just going to?
He could have FOI'd it and gotten it. Whether he would have gotten it as fast, I don't know. It was simply a matter of sending the spreadsheet. So he could have gotten it just as fast anyway.
Yeah. Did he threaten FOI, or did you just?
No, initially he sent me a request, and I said, if you're sending it as FOI, I send it to you every year because he comes back with it, and it's good analysis that he comes back with. I think the only mistake I made was I sent it to him over the weekend. At the same time I sent it to the town. The results and what I sent him wasn't the same. He got the data dump. So that was my mistake. That won't happen again.
Yeah, and I saw it on Super Bowl Sunday, and I was like, hey, what's going on here? So.
Yeah, and James thought it in terms of that. I didn't know about that. He thought he was being helpful sharing.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on. If other citizens were to ask, or in the future, what's going to be the procedure?
My mistake.
All right.
Are we making that correspondent?
I'm
It is down.
I guess. I'm just being transparent that.
When you bring it up, you have to put it in.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest that it was brought to my attention, and.
Yeah, and all James was sharing for.
There's nothing bad.
He was sharing the analysis that he did in terms of how many. In fact, one of the numbers was one that was just quoted there. But I was the one that sent it out to him prematurely. He would have gotten it anyway, but he got it over the weekend. He probably should have gotten it on Monday or Tuesday.
All right. Fair.
Anything else anybody else have any comments on the survey? I know a lot of the stuff just came out after, a lot of the stuff we try to get out on the weekend, but, it came out Monday, and.
I still need to get through a good chunk of it.
Yeah, I think, as I said in the one thing that stood out to me is a lot of people were questioning why on the state funding question, didn't we say town only on that? And then there was a couple questions, I think, that people still don't understand how much, what our levels of authority, are. Why didn't Board of Finance do this? Which a couple of the questions were over the remediation plan from a couple of years ago. And basically legally, we weren't part of the, we weren't entitled to be at the table. I think in discussion we determined after the fact that probably we should have been at the table just for input. But in terms of being able to make a decision legally or influence the decision or have a vote on it, we didn't have a vote on that one, because once the budget's passed, had the budget not been passed yet,
That would have been a whole different story.
yeah, it would have been a different story. But once the budget's passed, we don't have the authority in terms of operational cuts there. But I think, and there were some other things that when you look at them, people. Interesting enough, there were several people that hated the website. And then
and then it went live.
and they'll notice that as a result of the survey Monday morning, website. In fact, Joni sent out the link, and and then followed up, with this may not work if you don't click in time. And by the time I clicked, it said page cannot be found. But the new website. It's going to take a little bit of time, navigate just a little bit differently, but the same info's there, and the format seems to be cleaner. But I'll put the budget survey on next meeting for discussion. If anybody sees anything in there that they want to bring. I didn't have any new business for this meeting. Liaison report.
For new business, can I just ask one question? So I was looking at the bylaws, and I'm just trying to understand. I know the vice chairman, you don't have that on the agenda, and that's fine. But my question to you is, I know you spend a lot of time in Florida, and if something were to happen unforeseen, what happens next? If we don't have a chair?
You appoint a chair for a meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, in other words, if
How would that work? We just
you guys, assuming you have a quorum, basically, the addition to, basically the addition to the agenda right up front is to appoint a chairman for the meeting. So,
Similar if you had a situation where the vice chair and the chairperson were here, we'd have to go up, but we could still have a quorum in that case, so we'd have to appoint a
So
chair.
be a designee for
For that meeting.
for that particular meeting? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just curious about that.
yeah, you designate a person for the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Liaison reports, Mike, anything?
Just real quick, on the Coalition of Aging meeting on the 11th, just a couple points. Ellie Phillips is resigned from the commission, so they're looking for a replacement for her. A couple other things, they pointed out the fact that the Jack Jafter Intermediate School, for their participation with the annual holiday box program, so they 25 seniors in the community were presented with recipients of gift boxes from the kids in the schools. But I think it was a great program that they do things like that, again, the intergenerational stuff. Also, the food license, the food service license has been renewed for 2019 to Chatham Health District, and just financial report, $40 was spent on stamps, $170 spent on printing publications from the Coalition of Aging. It's $300 budget. All right, that's it.
Andrea, I don't think Board of that, but you have anything else?
No, and I apologize that I missed your Board of Selectmen meeting in January, but I don't have anything for Board of Ed, so.
Okay, I was at a previous meeting to this one tonight, so I didn't get over to youth services. Did you go, Denise? I'll
Yeah.
catch up. Anything?
They were having the community conversation on mental health tonight, so
Short meeting.
April 3rd, there's going to be another community conversation with the results of their survey, which is a survey they passed out to the kids about drug and alcohol use and all different kinds of things. I think all the kids in the middle school got it. So April 3rd, they'll have a conversation about the results of that. As you know, Officer Suchecki is leaving. Shannon Owens will be the new resource officer starting next school year.
That hasn't been confirmed.
Okay. He was
We're
gonna-
having meeting the 15th with Jeff, the superintendent of school, myself, Rob will be there. And I would say it's 99, 44, 100s, but it hasn't been confirmed.
The reason I brought it up was because he said he was going to start bringing her to the youth service
Correct.
meetings.
Yeah.
So, in fact, she'll be there at the next one. But that was really it. And then there's another survey that just went out for their summer programs to see if there's different things that the kids are interested in, what they're already providing, and how the results of that.
Thank you. Very sad.
I'm set. Good.
Citizens' comments?
I got a few things to touch on. One was, you guys were talking about the access to the Open Gov. Is there a date when it's going to go live to the public? And then you said you were able to tell who signed in. Are you going to be tracking citizens as they sign in?
People? No.
This was just internal.
Numbers, yes.
No, numbers.
Yes,
right.
numbers. We won't
But
know.
you made a comment that.
Well, because we're open, right now the board members are reviewing it. So
Oh, okay.
I asked Meredith, because I didn't know whether any of our board members had signed in yet.
Simply for those people where there's a user ID and password, the users are listed. I, as an administrator, simply would know one of those people last signed in on this date.
Got it.
How many times, what you did, don't have any information related, but it's specific to the ones with IDs and passwords. It has nothing to do with the general public.
Yeah, and also, which means that if any of us sign in with a password to look at the budget information or to look at the monthly okay, we're registered as a board member signing in. If you simply go to the site, you may see the same information, but you're not registered as a board member signing in. You're just a number that one person from the public, signed in. So, yeah, to me, I think it's important that as board members, when you're going to go, you sign in as a board member, so that it's recognized as board members, and we're not skewing the results for the public. That if the 6 of us log in 6 times that month, we don't want that looking like 36 members of the public logged in.
And will the view to the public be the same as your view?
Right now, I think, because right now...
By report.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I believe that based on what I see, what I'm looking at right now is what's in the budget book. There's no additional information, there. And where I see probably a difference, maybe there's another module that we haven't implemented yet, which is accountability and productivity. So if the fire chief wants us to view a report, we'll go on with our password to view that report. So if he's doing his paramedic stuff in OpenGov, that's where we'll access the information. So I don't see that being just simply out there on the public site to go in and look at, and we won't have access unless we're given access to a specific report.
And then touching back on what you said about James getting access to I had sent you an email and asked you when it was going to be available or to send it to me. So I know you sent it to James.
Well,
you didn't.
I sent it to James on Saturday or Sunday. You sent me an email on Tuesday?
I sent
that you couldn't
on the 31st.
That you couldn't.
And then I sent you a follow-up.
Yeah, you sent me. Yeah, you sent me and said, when is it going to be available on the
Public
site?
access.
Yeah, and I just said, I don't know yet. Then when you sent me one on Tuesday and said I can't get it, I sent you the link.
Right.
The link to it.
But none of that correspondence was on your agenda packet, I noticed.
What's that?
I said none of the correspondence, there was no correspondence for anyone with you on your agenda.
Yeah, my mistake. Yeah.
And then,
it'll be on next month.
So when you...
First of all, it wouldn't, because it came in after the agenda. I mean, your 31st one should have been on there.
Well, you said James asked you beforehand too, so I imagine that would have been...
Well, James was on Saturday or Sunday, so I put the agendas together on Friday.
I got mine on Sunday at 12. Just if you want to, it's right there if you want to read the email.
Okay, so you said...
Yeah, I sent it to him Saturday morning.
Okay, yeah, that makes
You were going to update the comments on the website to those 60 pages?
Is that on there yet, the 63 pages?
Yeah,
I think that's on there now.
Okay. This afternoon it was.
Yeah, and if not, our letter, because I sent it over to her, she picked up one mistake early this morning. I corrected it and sent it back to her. So that should be there, and if you want to view the data set, I sent that into Town Hall, also.
Okay, and then I guess my other question is, why are we not appointing a vice chair? I mean, I've been, when we I think when Rob left before, it was a conundrum of whether we could appoint one before he was resigned, and then you said, well, you were going to investigate it, and you actually appointed Tom King before Rob left. And your speech then was, it's very important that we maintain and that we have a vice chair at all times. So why is this different?
It'll be on next week, the next meeting. At the time I did, it could have been added tonight, but at the time I did the agenda, we didn't have an official resignation, as you pointed out. You came into Town Hall and pointed that out. So it'll be on next.
I just called.
Yeah, it'll be. Well, I don't know whether you came in or called, but it'll be on the agenda 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay.
So as long as I'm not hit by a Mack truck on the way home, we have a chairman until for 2 weeks, and we don't have a vice chairman, so they would have to elect somebody at that point.
And then my only last point is, he said that Roberta did a lot of the interaction with the chief and stuff. Were you able to ascertain her notes or her data to then?
Yeah, well, Roberta and I were in full, as she went to those meetings, we were in full conversation in terms of that. And she's still available for me to call, if I have questions. What I'm trying to get from the chief isn't the same work that Roberta did. It's just that they've updated the program, and the numbers are different.
So it wasn't weird, you weren't lacking her stuff, you just
No,
didn't
and she's still available. I mean, we have, basically, after each time, they met, basically I saw the spreadsheets. I asked questions before the meeting, which she carried to the meeting. At one point, I even created a spreadsheet that all they have to do is on the input sheet, go in and put the numbers, and it'll calculate the next 5 years out. but they didn't use that spreadsheet, and, once I get the numbers, I'll input the stuff into it so that we'll have the numbers. But yeah, there was a loss in continuity that she isn't there, and so somebody else is picking it up right now. But she kept thorough notes, and
So there was no indication that she was going to resign? You had no?
Not now.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I based on a future changing job situation, I was pretty sure she wasn't going to be here for another 4 years, but I thought another couple. She's pretty young, things happened at work that she felt she just couldn't be here at enough meetings, and try to figure out how can I do things to stay on. She definitely did not want to leave, so it was nothing that happened on this board or anything.
Yeah, it's a big loss.
It's a big loss, and certainly as late as last week, she was still talking, or the week before, she was still talking about the paramed program.
We had gone to a meeting.
Yeah, and so she was a valuable member of the board, not only at the meetings, but she did an awful lot of work on OpenGov and on the paramed program. So she spent an awful lot of time outside the meetings, working also. So
Well, pass along that we're going to miss her.
yeah.
On the future, I know we're going to have to talk about liaisons in the future when we get somebody new on, but I think the OpenGov conversation should stay within at least the 3 people that began the conversation with OpenGov. Just, I mean, we've been hard on it, we've been focused on it. Just,
I'll keep that
just
in mind.
Yeah, I mean, if we have to move things around or make things work.
Okay. Any other citizen comments? Can I have a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions?